Hello, and welcome to the Music Teacher Coffee Talk podcast. I'm Carrie.
And I'm Tanya. We are both elementary music teachers who love to talk shop, preferably over a steaming cup of coffee. This is episode 147. Today we are celebrating our sixth podcast anniversary by talking about six picture books we love to use in the music room. We'll also share some highs and lows from our teaching week, discuss some ideas in our Know Better, Do Better segment, share a work smarter, not harder teacher tip.
And in our CODA section, we'll give some specific recommendations of our favorite things we are enjoying in and out of the music room. So grab your beverage of choice and let's get started. So it is time to share some highs or lows from our teaching week. And here we are in the thick of it. This lovely time between Thanksgiving and winter break. So many highs, so many lows. Which way you gonna go, Tanya?
Man, oh man. I know that in the last couple of episodes, I have gone low, and yet I'm going to go low
We both can, always. It's okay.
again.
That's part of what it is.
Just, I don't know, maybe it'll provide some Schadenfreude for others or just some, you know, fellow commiserating that this is a tough time in case you didn't remember or you're new to it. This time between the Thanksgiving break, the winter break, it is a challenge. Um, all right, best laid plans. Anyway, so you and I were just talking off mic, but I don't have a problem sharing. I've been trying to have classes work towards a choice day, which is something that I used to do once upon a time. I've kind of gotten away from it because of how my schedule goes. I see a whole group of classes Monday through Friday, or, even if we have a holiday, Monday through whatever it is, uh, for a whole week. So I see the same classes Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And back when I was doing a 1 day rotation, it made a lot more sense to like have kids earn their way towards a choice day because I was seeing them so much more frequently. But in this kind of schedule, anything that happens has to happen on Friday because the next time I see them is like in 2 weeks, and
Mm-hmm.
their memory and my memory. I mean, I'm not saying our memory about how well we did, but their memory of like that anticipation of building up to a choice day is killed in 2 weeks for sure, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it doesn't make sense to do that. Anyway, that said, because I have just one more week with this group and then one more week with this group of classes, I'm having them work towards a choice day on Friday, and Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, they're working on earning beats. So they can earn up to 3 beats in a class period, and they just need to have 8 beats by the end of Thursday to get the choice day. So I really want them to have that choice day. I'm
Yeah.
kind of counting on it. I
Yeah.
want them to feel successful. I want them to like, have a fun day where they can revisit songs and games, especially since it's the end of this first half of the school year. It's
Yeah.
great to review all that stuff. All right, all right. All that said, and then I took some ideas from you because I've done choice days differently, and I wanted to try the way you were doing them because it sounded different and fun, where you give them a menu of the songs and games that they've loved and activities so far this year. And then you pick one kid randomly, and that kid gets to say, "Oh, I want to play Sammy Sackett," or fill in the blank.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this went lovely with first grade, second grade, third grade, fourth grade. But the fifth graders,
Surprise, surprise. What's that common TikToky lady?
exactly.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, shoulda, woulda, coulda known better. Anyway, you and I talked in great detail, but I think they thought it meant, I'm not going to curse here. I think they thought that having a choice day, a free day, means that we can just act however we want.
Mm-hmm.
Because anyway, I should have put more expectations and structure around the actual day itself. I didn't want to be a pain and remind them each day that, like, but remember, on a choice day, we will be respectful. We will. I mean, But what I should have done is exactly that.
I mean,
And
it sounds so. I mean, yeah, we were talking off mic that I mean, I do that like super briefly with fifth graders, obviously, but I'm annoyed with myself. Like, I don't shouldn't I having to say this right now, but I say it so that then I can hold them accountable for it. So I hear ya. It's like you just want to get to the fun and not
I
even
know.
deal with all that. But
And I should have not assumed that they could handle a looser format.
yeah,
But again, it's like, well, the kindergarten, the first grade, the second grade, third grade, fourth grade, they all had a great time, loved it, big success. Like that wasn't necessary. But I got to remember that it's fifth grade, and it's this year's fifth grade, and they have different needs than last year's fifth grade or this year's fourth graders or anybody else. And so, like, when will I learn that they need more structure, they need more reminding, they need more like consequences of anyway. All that to say, it was like the most miserable part of my week, and
sorry.
it wasn't an awesome week, so that's saying something. Um, Everybody else, lovely,
Yeah,
fantastic,
focus on that,
beautiful.
Tanya. Focus.
Well, yes, and also focus on how I can make it better for this next rotation, in which the fifth graders for this week coming up, not a lot better as far as generally their behavior. There's like a lot of the same. It's throughout the fifth grade. It's as far as like which class does more of the whole like interrupting or let's make a joke and I'll giggle about it, not be able to get over it. Like that's pretty much even out through the entire fifth grade. It's not like there's a great class and then these two are not awesome. They're all kind of they're very immature. That's all.
Yeah,
That's all. They're very
yeah.
immature. Um,
I'm sorry.
they're very sweet individually, and some of them. Um, well, I feel for them because it's just there's handfuls here and there that make things miserable because we have to, I hate this whole like we got to teach towards the kids who are not engaged and don't want to be engaged and
Right.
are sucking out of the air, sucking all the air out of the room because they need attention, 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 and I'm sure other people have had similar
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
issues.
I mean, all the
Yeah,
time. And it's so hard to balance that and hold kids individually accountable and not let them derail everything else. When somebody
exactly.
solves that solution, hey, why don't you drop us an email and we'd love to have you as a guest on our podcast.
Please, if you've got it all figured out. But
Right, right.
yeah. Anyway, so that's my sad sack story.
Okay.
How about you, Carrie?
I'll go high. Again,
Yay.
always either way, but I'll just balance it out. So I took my fifth graders to the symphony, kind of sort of. So the Colorado Symphony does youth concerts. Tanya, you talked about taking your students to the traditional youth concert earlier this year. I'm going to be taking my fourth graders to that concert later in the year. But this last week, I took just the fifth graders to a concert they offer called Drums of the World, and they do this every year. And it's just the percussion section of the symphony, and they do a very hodgepodgey kind of performance of traditional percussion ensembles. There was like a marimba duet, there was like a stomp inspired thing, and then like the grand finale encore piece, they did a thing with like light up drumsticks and they dimmed the lights, and kids loved that. um and I was nervous going into it because I do have lots of challenging behaviors in fifth grade as well. And especially because I did take them to the symphony last year. And even though it was a totally different concert, we were going to the same concert hall. It was very similar schedule, similar vibe. So I was just worried that they were going to kind of have this attitude of like, well, we've already done this, and, just not be like open and respectful. And they actually really loved it. And, not to pat myself on the back, but I think it was a good call to do what I did, which was take them to something different. So they still had a concert experience, but it wasn't the full orchestra. It was just percussion, and it was just right up their alley. They behaved very well. There's always that moment of frustration when there's schools where I feel like the behavior is not so good, and then my kids are looking at me like, "What do we do?" I give them a look like, "Not that," you know. And I actually talked to them about that before the concert. I said, we talked extensively about concert etiquette last year. I gave them some review points, but I didn't like spend a ton of time on it. But I just reminded them, that there might be other schools that they don't have their concert etiquette down, and it's up to you to be the leaders and set the tone. And if you see kids acting foolish in another school, don't copy. And they did just that. So anyways, I have shared many a story on this podcast of being frustrated with fifth grade, but this week I was really proud of them. So I'll give them credit, I'll give me credit, and say it was a success. So yay.
Yay. And now it's time for our main theme. This is our 6th year podcast anniversary around
Crazy.
this time of year. It's crazy. 6 years of content are out there if you'd like to listen. You
Yeah.
can go through, before COVID, during COVID, after COVID times. Um, Lots of ideas. And for winter and holiday ideas, we do have some specific episodes you can listen to. And I don't have those numbers, but we just thought we'd do something a little bit different this time of year where we will share 6 picture books, especially now that we're on YouTube, 6 picture books that we have loved using in our classroom. And if you want to celebrate with us and give us a little thank you for the podcast, we would love for you to buy us a coffee. Head on over to our Facebook page or on Music Teacher Coffee Talk Podcast.com, and you could buy us a coffee or leave us a review. That would be a lovely thing, just to show your appreciation, and we appreciate you listening. If you've been with us for a long time, or if you this is your very first listening to Music Teacher Coffee Talk, thank you for taking your time to listen. We are all music teachers. We're all in it together, so it's good for us to help each other out.
Yeah, and another way you could give us a thank you is by sharing an episode with a friend or colleague. Just say, "Hey, have you ever listened to this podcast? They're helpful." At least I hope that's what you would say. Or when we post things on our Facebook page, sharing it on yours, especially now that we are doing our podcasts not only audio but also on YouTube. You could easily share the YouTube link on your Facebook page as well. So just spread the word. We're still here. We're still doing it, and we'll keep going as long as we have things to say. So happy 6 year anniversary, Tanya.
Happy 6 year anniversary, Carrie. We need to make one of those cakes with like from our series of our cake and
Oh, that's
anniversary.
right. Our layer cake series that we just finished talking
Yes.
about. Our recipes for success
Our
series.
recipes for success.
That would
Exactly.
require me to have time to bake cake. Maybe we
I
could
know,
buy a cake. We do at least need to go out for a festive coffee and or cocktail. That needs to happen
for sure.
for sure.
For sure. Yeah.
All right,
Okay.
so we're just gonna ping pong back and forth, and we're each gonna share three, so that it'll be a total of six in honor of our 6 year anniversary.
Yes.
And these are not necessarily winter or holiday related. In fact, mine are not at all.
Mine are not at all.
So save these ideas for whenever they pop up in your life. So
Yes. And I wanted to make a little caveat that I think both you and I, um, we tried to reach for books that we haven't talked about a lot.
yeah,
We also tried to reach for books that are not necessarily on everybody's radar. So we give a lot of John Robin credit to picture books, and I made sure I didn't pick any John Robin
right.
picture books. They're lovely. I use them a lot, but you hear about those. So, I tried to dig a little bit deeper.
Yeah,
Of course, we could both do like 30 books because
yeah,
it's a big part of my classroom, grades kindergarten through 5th grade. And I know it's a big part of your classroom too, is that, this reading connection between music and reading and the community building that also is involved in reading a book to students. And, there's so many reasons to be reading books in the music room, which I know that most of our listeners are doing. But anyway, we just tried to go from some different things that are not the normally expected books.
totally,
Yeah.
totally.
So Carrie, you're going to start us off with your first pick.
Yes. Yeah, okay, so this book I just got this year actually at the Scholastic Book Fair, and it is Under the Sea, and it is a little pop-up book, and I had to search on the back for who it's written by Harriet Stone and Catherine Robertson, and illustrated by Ella Bailey. Now, here's the deal. Just now, in preparation for, creating our show notes and everything, I tried to look this up, and I can't find where you can just buy this book. And then it says on the back, this edition is only available through School Market. So I feel like this is one of these books that really maybe might only exist for the Scholastic Book Fair. So
Hmm.
I still want to share it though, because I did find a very similar book, a very similar Under the Sea pop up book type book. So you could totally do the same idea. It doesn't have to be this book in particular. But the reason why I chose this book is because I will then connect it to the song Seashell. And really, you could connect it to any book that involves fish or things under the sea. But the song Seashell, and there's different versions of it, the one that I do goes like this: Seashell, seashell, sing a song for me. Sing about the ocean, tell me about the sea. And what we're doing while we're singing that is we're passing a shell around the circle, and I have an actual seashell that I pass around, and then I also have a little seashell puppet that I use, and I kind of use both interchangeably. And then whoever has this shell at the end of the song, I ask them, "What do you see?" As in, like, what do you see in the ocean or on the beach? And then they can vocally improvise, "I see a turtle, I see a shark," whatever, on that so me pattern. So, what I intend to do with this book is use it just to generate ideas, because it's talking about I can swim very long distances, my body is large and heavy, and it's giving them clues. What am I? Oh, I am a whale. And then it goes through. Funny thing about my particular version is one of the pages is printed upside down, and I didn't know that when I got it, but whatever, that's fun.
Whoa.
Some of them are pop ups, and some of them are like, how many sea turtles can you find on this page? And it is a board book, so you'd have to get up nice and close to the kids when you read it to them, or put it under the dock camera. But, anyways, again, it's not about this particular book, but I just like it for generating ideas of lots of different creatures and things that live under the sea. And then we can tie it into that seashell song, which I will put the notation for that in the show notes, as well as a link to a book that's super similar to this one. But if you still have the Scholastic Book Fair coming to your school this year, maybe be on the lookout for it, because it was just on the table of, many, many books that they have at the book fair. So that's
That is
Under the
awesome.
Sea.
While you were talking about that, because I love that song Seashell and I do the same
Yeah.
activity with it, I was actually thinking about how you could take that book and you could flesh it out into a whole program.
Oh, you could.
And you could have them sing Seashell in between. It could be your traveling music, like Mussorgsky's Pictures at an Exposition. Like
Ooh.
you hear Seashell and a little Orff ensemble, barred instrument accompaniment. Um, and then you talk about this animal and you sing a song that's connected. So not even a program that like has a really formal story. You could really just be all thematic about it. What do
Yeah.
you think? Anyway.
You could use Camille Saint-Saëns' aquarium from Carnival of the
Ooh. Oh, you
Animals
could
as
do a,
your.
a flashlight and spark. Sing
Yes.
it. Oh, that'd be lovely.
Cute,
Yeah.
cute.
Okay.
See where the ideas just spark? I love it.
I know. I love it too. And I want that book. Or I want the one that is
Yeah, I
similar
mean,
to
like
that
I
because I
said,
don't
I'll
have that.
link to one that's similar. I don't know exactly how similar, but it looks pretty darn similar. Same idea. So I think
Yes.
definitely same vibe. All right,
Awesome.
Tanya, what's your first book you want to share?
Well, I don't even know. I didn't look to see if this is even in print. I kind of think it might not be, but I know that there's, I'm sure, variations of this chant, Who Stole the Cookies from the Cookie Jar. And this is a book that I actually bought for my own children who are teenagers now, um, when they were itty bitty. And I specifically remember on a trip to Louisiana, to see extended family, that this was one of the books that we packed because my son loved it so much. And I remember my cousins, actually, not his cousins, his second cousins, my cousins who were like teenagers at the time. They saw this one lying around, and they went to town. They were very cute about it, and about like speaking this book, um with my kid at the time. So it is your traditional who stole the cookies from the cookie jar. Doggy stole the cookies from the cookie jar. Who, me? Yes, you. Couldn't be. Then who? I was playing in the den when I noticed there were 10. Oh, it's such a pity. It must be the. And then the kids try to, you know, figure out
Kitty.
Kitty, who stole the cookie? And it goes on and on. So
Cute.
you get your traditional rhyme of who stole the cookies from the cookie jar, and then the rest, of course, you say with the beat. I was playing with the vine when I noticed there were 9. A missing cookie isn't funny, and it must have been the. And then if you look, you can see there's some ears to give them another
Bunny.
context clue, and a lot of kids clue in that it rhymes. But
Oh
then, of
yeah.
course, you get the kids who are like, it must have been the bird. You know.
Yeah,
Anyway.
no, couldn't rhyme.
So and also these cookies, they're raised. They're these
Yeah, I can
raised
see that. And then they
bits
go
with
like
the
as you turn the page, the
holes.
cookies are
Yes.
disappearing.
Uh-huh. I know it's kind of dorky, but
Oh, so cute.
and it's very cute, and it's a good way to introduce this chant. And then at the end, dad steals the cookies, but then he shares, so it's all good. And
Oh,
then the next class period, we're able to do who stole the cookies from the cookie jar. Carrie stole the cookies from the cookie jar. And then
who, me?
yes, you.
Couldn't be.
Then who? And then Carrie names another kid. So
Tanya stole the cookies from the cookie jar. Yeah,
and then the first time we do that, I usually put them in a circle so they don't have to like think about who. They just go, this kid.
the next person.
Yeah, the next person. So,
Cute.
it's just a fun one. Um, I'll have to put it on our show notes, whether this is in print or if there's another one. I did not do my due diligence to look up to see, what could take the place if this particular,
We'll find something.
yeah, we'll find something.
You
So,
know, and I'll mention too, anytime I'm looking for a book that's out of print, a good place to look is thrift books. Have you ever looked on thrift books, Tanya?
yes, I love thrift books. And then there's another one. Oh, I want to say it's
Oh,
Abe's.
Abe's used books. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, Abe's used books is good
Yeah.
too.
So even if it's out of print, I mean, you can often find it sometimes for dirt cheap or sometimes
Exactly.
crazy
The other thing is
expensive.
that you can find it a lot cheaper sometimes.
Yeah.
But then the sad thing is you can find it cheap and then the shipping is twice as much. So
Exactly. So then
there's
you want to buy a bunch of books all at once. I have a
yeah.
couple books that I've bought from there, and it's like they're well-loved books because they're like there's like coloring sometimes on like some of the pages, and the kids are like, "Did you scribble on your book?" I'm like, "No, some other child did. That's
That's
okay."
okay. Yeah.
They're well-loved. So,
All right. What's your next book for
all
us?
right, my next one I just grabbed because it's just one of my oldies but goodies. It's one of my favorites. So this is Over in the Meadow. As as written by John Langstaff with illustrations by Fyodor Rojankovsky. Did I say that correctly? I think I did. Who also did the illustrations for, is it that Rosie's Walk book with like a rooster going for, okay, maybe I'm totally making that up off the spot, but I feel like they're very folksy illustrations. That I guess you can just put it that way, which I really like. And there is an Over in the Meadow Fire Robin one, correct? No?
Uh yes, I'm
I feel
positive.
like
Yeah,
there
it's got a
is.
turtle on the front. Yeah.
Yes, but
Yes.
I just have always used this one. So, I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's well loved. It's like all wrinkly and it had water damage, probably coffee or water or whatever. But, it's the traditional over in the meadow, in the sand, in the sun, lived an old mother turtle and her little turtle one. Dig, said the mother, I dig, said the one. So he dug and was glad in the sand and the sun. I had to look at it because it's been a little while since I've done it. And then it just goes through. Now there's 2 foxes and there's 3 robins. And I typically do this in the springtime. Fall would be another time that this would work well, but I do it in the spring typically. And it's just a beautiful song to just sit and sing and read with the children. And then your tie-in, if you wanted to have an additional tie-in, could be to basically any of these animals, right? The last one in this particular version talks about bunnies, 10 little bunnies in their warm little den. So, a very good transition from this would be going right into any song about bunnies. The one that I typically do with my little ones is the Sleeping Bunnies song, which I learned from the I'm Growing Up book by Peter and Mary Ellis Amadons. It's see the little bunnies sleeping till it's nearly noon. See if we can wake them with a merry tune. And then they hop, little bunnies, hop, 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 start hopping all around the room. So they're sleeping in their dens and they hop around, right? So this would be a really super easy transition because they're all in their warm little den, they're all sleeping, and then you go hopping around after that. So, yeah, just a beautiful book with, I believe, lovely pictures, and just love to sing this one to my kids. This was also one of my son's favorites growing up too, so I have that emotional connection to Tanya. I thought of that when I grabbed it. It's like, oh, these books that I've sung with my own personal children too tug at my heartstrings now that he's a freshman in high school.
I know, me too. Because so many of those books that I bought with my own money and I kept on my own because I said, well, if I ever leave my classroom, I can take these books. And I did. And also, I said, well, and I'm keeping these books because when I have my own children, we'll read these books. And we did.
Yeah,
And now both of those things have happened.
exactly.
So, yeah. So here we are on the other side.
Yeah, that was always my go-to gift when I go to a conference and I want to bring back a little gift for my own personal kids is I would often buy them a picture book that then I would end up stealing back and bringing to my classroom later. So a lot of my picture books were, yeah, books that I bought like at the Oak conference or at Colorado Music Educators Association. They lived in our house for a while and then eventually would make their way to
Yeah.
my classroom. So
Books and puppets.
yeah,
Books and
yeah.
puppets.
Spend your own money on books and puppets. Thank us later for that. All right, what's
Exactly.
your next one, Tanya?
All right. Well, I've been going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. All right, I'm gonna go folksy as well.
Okay.
Um, Mama Buy Me a China Doll by Harv and Margot, or yeah, Margot Zimach. And they've done other books as well. And so, this is a old folk song, and it's a good tea ticket folk song. And in this book, it is a book um, that has these lovely illustrations. They're very detailed. This is definitely one that I make sure I read up close and personal. And I read this one with fourth graders because that's when I do T Tucka is early fourth grade. I'm lucky if I can get to it in third grade. But we we T Tucka and we use this song because the melody goes, "Mama, buy me a china doll. Mama, buy me a china doll. Mama, buy me a china doll. Do, mommy, do." Right. And so we see little Eliza Lou who loves this china doll that she sees. And we talk about, okay, so there's this gentleman that's coming around um, with his wagon full of goods. And this is in the times where you didn't go to the mall and you didn't go to the store all the time. Someone would come by, and maybe it was only once a week. Maybe it was less than that. Maybe it was once a month, and they would come by with goods that you would buy. And so she runs home and she says, "Hey, Mama, buy me a china doll." And her mom says, "Well, what would we buy it with?" And so I sing this whole book, and it goes, "Well, we could sell Daddy's feather bed. Then where would our daddy go? He would go in the horsey's bed. Then where would the horsey go? He would go in the sister's bed." And it's got these amusing illustrations of
Mm-hmm.
where we put in all these people and things and animals, and we get to the very end of where would our there's Granny who's in the piggy pen,
Yeah.
and where would the piggies go? And they could go in Eliza's bed, and then where would Eliza go? Then where would Eliza go? And she could go on her mommy's lap. It's
Oh.
very sweet at the end, and always gets me a little misty. And she's dreaming about a china doll. Uh, Dreamy Liza Lou. At the very end, we get this picture, which sparks some good conversation because there's no words on this page, but we have a
Yeah.
picture of the china doll. And
Yeah.
sometimes the kids go, "Oh, she got the china doll." And we say, "Well, do you think that they would have done all those things to get the china doll?"
Right.
And then, of course, eventually they figure out oh wait, this is her dream about the China doll. So,
Yeah.
it's just a lovely song. It's a lovely book. Um, and it's out of print. I'm positive that this one's out of print, but
Okay.
it would be one that you could find used.
Yeah.
So that's Mama Buy Me a China Doll. And all that to say that fourth grade and fifth grade still need to have picture book time.
Yeah.
And yeah, it needs to be appropriate picture book time.
Sure.
Um, I could definitely do this younger. I could do this with third grade. I could see doing it with almost any grade, but I like to kind of save some things for the older kids. And this is one I've never read this to a fourth grade class who were like, we're too old for that. That's no, we're no, none of that.
Right.
They're usually enchanted by it. So it's a lovely song and a lovely book.
Yeah. Well, and I know we said we weren't going to necessarily promote Fire Robin books, but there is a Fire Robin version of that one too. So,
There is a Fire Robin version of that
so if
one.
you're
Yeah.
having a hard time finding the specific one that
Yes.
Tanya just talked about, then
Yes.
well, we can link to the other one too. But
Yeah, and you know what? I don't have that one. I because I have a lot of the Fire Robin books.
yeah,
It hasn't been a priority for me
because you
because
had that one.
I love this one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same with Over in the Meadow, but I actually do have the Fire Robin of that Mama Buy Me a China doll, so that's funny.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
yeah.
Is it the same as far as like
You know what? I like
same
the
color?
illustrations and the one you were just showing because I like the funny how it shows like grandma in the piggy pen, like it's showing the people in their out of place places. The Fire Robin one doesn't necessarily do that. I don't remember exactly the illustrations because it's been a while since I've done it. It has beautiful illustrations, don't get me wrong. It just doesn't have that like maybe as humorous as
Yeah.
those.
Yeah.
But just slightly different.
Well, and I should give a little caveat just because it's out there that there is a version of the song. I don't know if it's in a book, honestly, but there is a version of the song where at the end of the song, after all of these verses, the mom answers yes and get a spanking too. That
Right,
like
because it's talking
uh,
about oh, the little girl, instead of saying that I'm going to climb on mama's lap, which is so sweet, she says, I'm going to go swing on the garden gate. And then it
there
says
you go.
yes and get a spanking too, because it's
Yes, and
like
give you
she's
a
naughty.
spanking too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't go with that one.
No, I like that much better.
But I don't think I'm harming the history of the folk song or like I'm fine with
Yeah,
with
we
that
can let that go.
change. It makes a lot more sense. And yeah, I can let that go.
Cool. All right. Well, also in I also wanted to grab one that I do with older kids, and I know I've talked about this, but I wanted to talk about it again because I can show the pictures now, which I couldn't have done before or we didn't do before. And also it just came up in conversation with my principal just yesterday. So anyways, this is The Book of Mistakes by Karina Lukin, I believe is how you'd pronounce it. And this is a absolutely gorgeous picture book that starts with a drawing of a girl, and it shows that one of her eyes is bigger than the other, and then it shows how they then made the other eye even bigger, and that was a mistake, but then they gave her glasses to kind of cover that up. And then it's talking about, how we can take mistakes and we can learn from them and we can turn them into things. And as the book goes on, the drawing just gets bigger and bigger and more detailed and more involved. And then you kind of have this very meta moment where the big giant picture becomes a small detail in the top of the head of the new picture, and there's kind of this moment where the kids are like, whoa, what is that? And it's a little bit meta and out there, but the whole point of it, though, and then it says in the back, set your imagination free with all the little ink smudges that become leaves. So, the whole purpose, obviously, is teaching kids to embrace mistakes, learn from mistakes, grow from mistakes, make beautiful things from mistakes. And this is a book that I read every year to my fifth graders, the very first day of music. And, I ask them to have a little turn and talk moment with their neighbors, and they share out what are ways that we can learn and grow from mistakes in music. And they'll say things just like, if you play a wrong note, you can just like make it into something new and keep going with with it, those kind of things. Or it's more bigger ideas of like you practice, you learn from it, and we talk about, yeah, there's times where you want to play and sing the right notes because that's the goal. And then there's times where you're creating your own music and maybe you played a note you didn't intend, but then that actually sounds kind of cool and then you can turn something with it. So that's typically what I do with that book is just use it as a discussion piece just to talk about being vulnerable, learning from mistakes. I have also done at one time a project, I think I actually did this during the pandemic, where I gave kids a staff, like, because I'm pretty sure I did this digitally now that I'm thinking of it, on like Jamboard. I put like a staff, a 5 line staff, and I like put like a splotch on the staff, and I was like, "This is your first pitch," and then from there they created a melody just to like
Oh,
make a musical example of it. It was kind of so. I could see making that more or less successful in some other way, but just, to also tie in like the very explicit musical example of, making a mistake and then creating music from your mistake. But the reason it was on my mind is because yesterday I had my post observation conference with my principal, and one of the compliments she gave me, which I was really meaningful to me, is she said she really appreciated that, every time she comes in my room, she sees that kids are, for the most part, participating. She hasn't seen very many times where kids are not really participating, and she's seen kids sing solos and put themselves out there and make themselves vulnerable. And she's like, I know that's not accidental. She's like, I know that that's intentional. I just don't know what you're doing to make that happen. And I said, well, here's what's one thing that I did do. And I told her about this book and how I read it to fifth grade. And she's like, oh, that's so cool. That's amazing. So I appreciate that she recognized that it wasn't a mistake, that I do intentional things to build that trust and rapport with my kids. And that book is just one of them. So it's just one of my favorites. The Book of Mistakes. I just read it once in the beginning of the year. Don't make a big thing of it, but I think it's a beautiful conversation starter.
awesome. Yeah, it is. That's wonderful. You could give them you could give them like a garage band or a uh sound trap like blah
Yeah,
and
exactly.
then they could go to town like with putting samples to kind of make it seamless into something that's of their own
Part of it.
creation.
Yep,
It could be their own Thelonious Monk kind of
exactly.
deal. Yeah.
And I could see, I mean, I haven't done it, but total collaboration with your art teacher on this,
Oh yeah.
like I'm sure art teachers would be all about this book, for the obvious reasons. So yeah, how cool. I mean,
You could have them create a piece of art from some, yeah, and then they have to compose the music that goes with it, kind of
yeah,
thing.
exactly. Yeah. So many things. All right.
So
So
many
what's
things.
your final book you want to talk about, Tanya?
Okay, final book. I'm going to go lower grades again. Again, I've been back and forth until just this second.
Okay.
Um, and I know I've talked about this on the podcast, but too bad I'm going to talk about it again because it provides so many entry points to so many things. And it's Hurry Up, a book about slowing down. This is in print, so that's another reason. It's like, hey, I actually have some books to talk about that you can get. And it is written by Kate Dupperack and illustrated by Christopher Stiles Neal. And it's just a book that shows a girl in the morning before school and how she has to, the alarm goes off and it's hurry up, hurry up, hurry up, hurry down, hurry all around, and she gets to the bus and she gets to the school and we're busy at school and everybody's busy and it's hurry, hurry, hurry. And the illustrations tell most of the story because the word we see over and over again is hurry till you reach the top, is hurry, hurry, hurry. And then you get to the middle and it's she comes home from school and there's a big old stop. And then it takes a turn where we slow things down and we um, take a break, right? And so she goes outside with her dog and she notices her surroundings in nature and she wanders and she picks some flowers and breathes in and breathes out. And I, of course, match my reading to the energy of the book. When we get to the slow down part, we do some breathing. And I don't say, and now let's stop and breathe. I do it and they follow me, right? So The book suggests it, and we do it.
Yeah.
Um, and then it starts raining. And anyway, so it really is a book about slowing down. And I read this in kindergarten right after we've been studying fast and slow. So, of course, that's a huge tie in. But it's also a way to transition towards maybe some mindfulness exercises. Um, Also talking about our environment, and we can connect to, well, close our eyes and let's make mental notes of what we hear right now, right? So we can tie into environmental sounds and being in the moment, and we can just have some brief but meaningful, like, class conversations about being in the moment. And, you know, there you go.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. Um, and it's a lovely book. It's lovely illustrated. And this is one of those that, where while I could read this book in 5 minutes, I try to take 10 minutes to read this book
Yeah.
to make sure that I am, you know, delivering
Demonstrating.
on
Yeah.
the whole concept of slowing down and taking time. And it's an opportunity to have that time with students,
Yeah.
and to talk about noticing and being present.
Have you ever like had music playing in the background while you were reading it? Like I'm thinking you could have something like very busy playing and then like switch when you get to the slowdown part and have
Yes,
something
I
like
I haven't done that, but I have thought about that. It
yeah.
happens in my head all by itself, like,
Sure. Yeah.
what is that piece? I don't even know.
Uh Catch-Turian.
Good job. Yeah, you could play that. That
Or
would
I
be a
was
good
thinking like
start.
Flight of the Bumblebee.
Yeah.
Or I was even thinking of Rhapsody in Blue. I don't know why it popped in my head. You know that part, and then when she gets to the slow down part, you can have the da 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 da. You know the United Airlines theme song music playing.
Used to be. We're really
It
dating
still
ourselves,
is.
Carrie. Is
It
it?
still is. I flew
Okay.
on United recently, and in their like pre-flight safety video, because now it's all a video, they were playing the music, the Gershwin, and I was like, they still do.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
So,
hilarious.
anyways,
Okay, yeah, you could totally do that. I have
yeah,
not done that. You
yeah.
know what? I'm sorry. Here I am then, just going off on tangents. You could also, with older grades, you could read, I would read this to, gosh, almost anybody. You could read this and have this be an intro for kids who can go on to, well, I'm probably not Spotify because you got to have a whatever, but they could go and specifically look for,
Choose music.
yeah, they could
Yeah,
choose music that could match this book. You could have
yeah.
it be that kind of project where they have to, if you had to choose music, if that was your job to do, then what would you choose to go with this part of the book? What about this part of the book? You
Mm-hmm.
could do that.
You
Yeah.
know, a soundtrack kind of thing, or they could
Right.
compose it on Soundtrap or whatever.
Exactly. And then there
Cool.
you go with your whole, like, tying into real world occupations and all
Sure.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's yeah, just reading it for the sake of yeah the mindfulness moments. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we will link to all of these books or clever alternatives and songs that we mentioned in the show notes. So be sure to go to musicteachercoffeetalkpodcast.com where you can find our show notes and past episodes and all other goodies. So now it is time for our segment we call Know Better, Do Better, where we consider ways to be more culturally responsive and inclusive and thoughtful in our classrooms. So, Tanya, what would you like to share?
Well, I really wanted to give a general shout out to an organization, Vocal Coalition, which is located in Denver. And my own child has been a member of Vocal Coalition, the choir, um, for the last year. We're coming up on a year anniversary. And Vocal Coalition is a choir founded by Travis Branham and his wife, Emily Branham. And I'm personally so very thankful to them, because when my child left the Colorado Children's Chorale, it was hard. was heartbreaking because that community and singing were not happening. But um, then Kai joined Vocal Coalition, and they are a different choir because their repertoire is completely different. Um, every vocal coalition concert highlights BIPOC composers, songwriters, and usually involves a group that performs along with the choir. So, like, I'm thinking about the Reminders, which is a hip hop group from Colorado Springs who come and they work with the choir. And so the kids are learning these songs and they're learning to sing in that style. And it's very community driven. And there's a priority in serving underserved youth and kids who are just not your typical kid, which that would be my kid. So, kids who are of minority groups, kids who are neurodivergent, kids who are LGBTQIA plus, so that's the kind of kids that they attract, and those are the kind of messages that they embody, is that we are a choir for everyone, and we're here not to sing. We're not singing Mozart. They're not singing the classics. They are singing songs that are really empowering. They all have a very positive message, and they get to work directly with these artists. Um, and so I just wanted to give a very heartfelt, um, long overdue thank you to Travis and Emily for this choir. And I'm going to get teary because
Aw.
my kid, she has my kid, they have a place. They have a place in the choir,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
it's something that they're excited to do, and I just am so excited that they can keep singing. Like, we're just keeping the music going. It doesn't have to be the traditional music, and just because my kid does not want to sing the children's chorale repertoire, which is lovely, and I mean, I'm not slamming them, but by any means, but they they just march to a different beat,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's a good place. It's a home choir for us now.
Well, I think it just brings up the importance of having, what some might call like an ensemble, which, it shouldn't be that type of othering, but it's like that not traditional ensemble, whether it be like having, a modern rock band or a mariachi group or, yeah, this type of choir experience that's not the traditional repertoire. Not all kids resonate with Western European classical music. Surprise, surprise. So having alternatives for kids in, school settings or outside of school is really important. So, yeah, Travis and Emily are awesome for paving the
Yes.
way here in Denver for
Yes,
that.
yes, and we're just very lucky to have them here. And I know Travis at one point did a TED talk which involved Vocal Coalition, his choir. Um, so you can look that up. Yeah,
Oh, we'll link to it in the show
it
notes
was
for
like
sure.
a Mile High TED talk,
Yeah.
Denver TED talk thing. Yeah.
Yeah, well, we'll at least link to their website, and then, obviously where you live, you might not have something exactly the same, but, look around for those types of ensembles. Because I know I always have, parents asking me what kind of things kids can get involved in, musically besides, school stuff. So it's good to know about those, like I said, alternative types of, experiences that might not fit into the normal mold, but are so important for so many kids.
Oh yeah, and they're having a great time. It's wonderful.
Yay!
Yeah. And it's time for our work smarter, not harder teacher tip. Carrie, make our lives easy, flawless, and full of just hacks. We
Oh,
want to
yeah,
hack.
no.
Yeah.
Hacks. When this is for when you feel like a hack. No, I'm just kidding. So, we have a whole episode about subbing for yourself when you are just not feeling up to to where you should be, whether it's vocally, health wise, energy wise, whatever. This is that time of year where I think those kind of activities are really important. So I just wanted to give just like a reminder, in addition to that whole episode, of just having a few just small, simple things in your back pocket that are ready to go, that in a moment's notice you could shift to if your voice is just suddenly like shot and you're exhausted from the concert the night before. If, all of a sudden it's, a snow day and inside recess and the kids' brains are just totally all over the place, like there are so many reasons why this time of year I think it's important to have things, and not necessarily just putting on the latest and greatest Disney movie, although been there, done that, not gonna judge. But if you just have a couple ideas that you just know, if all things, go to, where, this is what I can do. And I'm gonna say I did this last week. I was feeling it on Friday because it was a 5-day week after the Thanksgiving break, and I had traveled over Thanksgiving, and I was exhausted, and vocally I was not good. So I was like teaching my kindergarten class, and I was like, and they were tired too. I could tell. No, this is first grade. Excuse me, first grade, whatever. They were really tired too. I see them at the end of the day. And so the last 15 minutes, I pulled up a slideshow that I had prepared for a sub earlier in the week when I took my kids to the symphony. So I had a slideshow ready to go for the class that she had had, and I was seeing a different class, and it was a Nutcracker themed lesson where there was like a video like the Nutcracker in 10 minutes, and then Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy play along, and then a movement activity that I found on YouTube, just all very sub friendly things. And I was like, cool, I'm going to use this slideshow for myself now. And we didn't get to all the activities because it was just the last 10-15 minutes, but we watched the video and we did the play along, and that was lovely, right? So, just having those ideas that in a moment's notice, if you just need to shift, you've got those things. For me, for primary kids, this next couple weeks, it's going to be that Nutcracker slideshow. And for secondary kids, Musication play along videos are a go-to for, I know, many of us. There's so many holiday Christmassy Nutcracker ones that are easy to grab for either percussion play alongs or boomwhacker play alongs, or sometimes both, a combination. And then also I have Aileen Miracle's Christmas Carol bingo set that just sits on my desk this time of year. It is ready to go at a moment's notice. I actually used it this last week. My choir rehearsal, the last 10 minutes, we had gotten through all the music that I intended to get through with them. And I was like, you know what? Let's just play a round of Christmas Carol bingo. And we did. And they had the best time. And I even had a parent tell me the next day, my daughter was so happy after playing that bingo game yesterday. So, the kids are tired too. They need breaks and relaxing activities. So don't be afraid to grab those things as you need them and take care of yourself.
Yes, exactly.
So now it's time for our coda, where we suggest something either for in or out of the classroom. Tanya, what are you enjoying these days?
Okay, well, Spotify does not give us money. I mean, nobody really gives us money. Um, what I'm saying is, Spotify, if you're a premium member, then by now you probably are aware that they just started doing audiobooks. Like so many audiobooks, Carrie, that
Am
are
I a
there.
premium member? Okay, I'm going to look this up right now. Audiobooks.
So here, I've listened to like 3 books since this started. Um, because I'm also a member of Audible, which I mean I really love audiobooks because hey, someone's got to fold the laundry and make dinner and all the things
Yeah.
and I want to keep reading and so audiobooks are the way to go. A lot of the time. But yeah, so there's so many books available on in fact, I was trying to stump it. I was trying to look for titles on my TBR list of things that weren't available and I I ran into a couple that it looked like you had to buy, but I don't know how you do that. But anyway,
Okay.
like almost every book that I looked up is available through Audible. So, I mean, excuse me, through Spotify,
There's Spotify.
for free if you are a premium member.
Right.
So, are you looking
Okay.
at it?
Why
Yeah.
did I not know this, Tanya?
It
Thank
it
you. I'm
it
so
it only
excited.
happened in the last I wanna say the last month is when it happened, because I discovered it over Thanksgiving break, and since then, I have been just consuming the audiobooks on
Yeah.
Spotify. And I'll
'Cause-
mention one in particular that was a
oh,
light,
please.
fun read. It's called Charm City Rocks, a love story. It's a little silly, but it revolves around the world of rock and roll, and I'm a sucker for any of that. And it just is about this single dad who by chance um, meets the bass or excuse me, the drummer of one of his favorite rock bands when back in the day, and of course they're the same age, and get to know each other, and it's all about the ins and outs of that and start dating, and there's a lot of references to rock and roll from like you know the past 30 years that are kind of fun. It was very light, but very enjoyable. And Charm City Rocks, a love story. But all that to say, Spotify has a lot of audiobooks.
I've been
And
sitting here on my phone because I'm like adding like a bunch of books right now
yeah, I know.
to my
So
playlist.
I'm thrilled because I
Yes.
usually eat through my Audible credits, and I might even cancel my Audible
Well,
subscription.
see, that's the thing. That was one of the subscriptions I decided to let go because, so many subscriptions, right? And I was like,
Yeah.
dang it, I don't need to pay for this. I can read books from the library, whatever. Um, but this is really lovely. So, yay.
Yeah.
Yay, Spotify.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, mine is just kind of silly, and it's just like some beautiful music, and it's not new. In fact, it's quite old. But my it's funny you were talking about your child's choir experience because my kids are still in the children's chorale and singing very traditional music. And one of the pieces they're singing at their concert, they're singing a couple movements from the Ceremony of Carols by Britten, and it's
Oh.
just one of my favorites. And so I was telling my daughter, oh, gosh, I wish you guys would do the whole thing, but I know that, they need to balance it with other things. But I just started playing Ceremony of Carols today while I was
Oh.
cleaning the kitchen, and it just put me in the holiday spirit. I just absolutely love the Ceremony of Carols. I just think it's like that beautiful, mystical, magical sound, beautiful children's voices.
I
And
just I love the harp inclusion, and
yeah,
it's just gorgeous. Yeah, it's
so I
gorgeous.
know when I go to my children's concert tomorrow, I will totally cry because they're walking into the processional. My daughter
Oh,
tells me she warned me, which is probably good because I don't know that I could have taken it without knowing. But they're walking in, singing the processional, walking into the concert hall, holding candles, and I'm probably gonna lose
oh,
my mind. Uh, but anyways, if you're not familiar with Britain's Ceremony of Carols, definitely give it a listen. And even if you know it,
oh,
listen to it again because it'll get you in the holiday spirit.
for sure. We've reached the double bar line. Thank you for listening to Music Teacher Coffee Talk. Show notes can be found at musicteachercoffeetalkpodcast.com. You can connect with us on Facebook or Instagram. Just look for Music Teacher Coffee Talk.
If you enjoyed this show, please consider subscribing, rating, and leaving us a review on iTunes or other podcast players to help others find this podcast. And we always appreciate folks buying us a coffee, so look for that link on our show notes and on our Facebook page. Until next time, this is Carrie.
And this is Tanya wishing you happy musicking.